Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into these powerful, kind of hidden, psychological patterns that can secretly run our lives.
So let me ask you something. Ever feel like you're just stuck? Like you keep finding yourself in the same kind of relationship, or having the same argument at work, or caught in the same loop of self-doubt? It honestly feels like you're following a script that you never even knew you were given.
Well, it turns out there's a name for this. There's this really powerful psychological concept that explains these repeating patterns. They're often called life traps, and that's exactly what they are. These hidden scripts that silently guide our feelings, our thoughts, and what we do.
Okay, so the fancy technical term for these life traps is early maladaptive schemas. But let's just break that down. Think of them like emotional blueprints. They're these super deep-seated beliefs about ourselves and the world that we learn really early on, often without even realizing it. And the tricky part? They feel true. They feel like us, even when they're causing us pain. And it gets a little more specific. These schemas basically come in two flavors. You have your primary schemas, those are the foundational, core beliefs we form, and then you have secondary schemas, which are the coping styles we build on top of those beliefs. So for example, a primary schema could be a deep-down belief that you're unlovable. The secondary schema then is what you do about it. Like maybe you become a people pleaser, constantly seeking approval to fight that feeling.
All right, so the million-dollar question, where do these life traps even come from? And the theory behind it is actually really intuitive. It all boils down to our core emotional needs. See, these life traps, these schemas, they're not random, not at all. They're basically survival strategies. They pop up when our fundamental emotional needs just aren't being met, especially when we're growing up. They were ways we learned to adapt that might have helped us then, but can really hold us back now. And this framework points to 5 universal needs that are just the bedrock of healthy development, right? There's the need to feel safe and connected to others, the need to feel capable on your own, the need to understand boundaries and self-control, the freedom to just be yourself and express your feelings, and yeah, the need for joy and play. When any one of these is missing, that's when a specific kind of life trap can start to form.
So let's connect the dots here. How does this actually work? Well, we can literally map each of those unmet needs to a specific category. They call it a domain of life traps. And this is where it gets really interesting, because the emotional blueprint starts to take shape.
Okay, let's start with core need number 1, secure attachment. And you could argue this is the big one, the most fundamental need we have. It's that feeling of being safe, stable, cared for, and, truly understood by the people closest to us. So what happens when that need for security isn't met? Well, it can create these life traps in what's called the separation and rejection domain. This can look like a constant nagging fear of abandonment, a deep belief that people will always leave, or a core feeling of being fundamentally defective or flawed, or just this profound sense of social isolation, like you just don't belong, no matter where you are.
All right, next up, core need number 2, autonomy and competence. This is so critical. It's all about developing your own sense of self and feeling like, hey, I can handle this. It's about learning to trust your own judgment and your own abilities.
Now, if there's a problem here, you can end up in the impaired autonomy domain. This might show up as feeling totally dependent on other people to make decisions for you, or maybe being really enmeshed with a parent, where it's hard to tell where you end and they begin, or just holding on to this core belief that you're simply destined to fail.
Okay, core need number 3 is about realistic limits and self-control. This one is all about learning self-discipline, It's understanding boundaries for yourself and for others and being able to delay gratification instead of needing everything right now.
So when that need isn't met, you get what's called the impaired limits domain. And this can look like a sense of entitlement or grandiosity, kind of believing the rules just don't apply to you, or really struggling with insufficient self-control, just acting on every impulse. Number 4 is a big one, the freedom to express needs and emotions. We all have this deep, profound need to just be able to say what we feel and what we need without being afraid of getting punished or feeling guilty about it.
And when that freedom gets squashed, it often leads to this domain called other-directedness. Now notice these are all secondary coping schemas. This is about what you do. It's things like subjugation, where you always put your needs last, or self-sacrifice, where you're constantly taking care of everyone else, or just nonstop approval seeking, trying to get recognition instead of just being yourself.
And finally, we get to core need number 5, spontaneity and play. I mean, this is so essential, right? It's the need to just enjoy the moment, relax, and have some fun without all the pressure and worry.
So what happens if that need for play and fun just doesn't get met? The result can be the overvigilance and inhibition domain. This might look like a life built around these impossible, unrelenting standards. Or a constant focus on negativity. Or even having this harsh, punitive inner voice that just tears you down for every little mistake.
Okay, so we've just laid out this whole system of hidden scripts. But the big question, the really important question is, so what? Why does it even matter to put a name to these things?
Well, think about it. Across those 5 domains we just walked through, this framework identifies a total of 18 distinct life traps. 18 different scripts that can be running in the background of our lives, shaping our experience of love, work, and ourselves.
And that right there, that is the whole point. The real power here isn't just in the fancy label, it's in the awareness. It's almost impossible to change a pattern you don't even know is there. So just giving a name to this invisible force in your life, that is the first and absolutely most critical step toward being able to do something about it.
Which, of course, leaves us with one last, and maybe the most important question of all. Now that you've seen this map of human needs and the patterns that can show up when they're not met, it's really worth asking yourself, what invisible script might be guiding you?